except for the fact that Agile is open to all of this. Moving to the next slide. So, having gone through all of this, what is Agile after all? So Agile, when seen at a high level, is nothing but a clear set of guiding principles. You set up a project and run it in a way that embraces the guiding principle. And as long as the project exhibits the characteristics that are consistent with the characteristics of an Agile project, you can be rest assured that your project is indeed Agile. Specific Agile methods such as Scrum, extreme programming, etc. are concrete methodologies, although they are lightweight, with formal definitions of artifacts, roles, activities, tasks, etc. Now, if that is the high-level perspective, then what is the practitioner's perspective? So, in his book, The Extreme Programming Explained, Embrace Change, Kent Beck, who was one of the pioneers and a signatory to the Agile Manifesto, describes Agile methods as experiments in search of excellence in software development. To him, Agile methods have been and continue to be an experiment in answer to the question, how would you program if you had enough time? So he goes on to say that if code reviews are good, we'll review code all the time. If design is good, we'll make refactoring a part of our daily job. If unit testing is good, we'll write tests all the time, and that's what test-driven development is all about. If integration testing is important, then we'll integrate and test as frequently as we can, which is what continuous integration is all about, and everybody will test it, including the customers. So there is nothing unusual about that. What he says is that I'm doing Agile, and then if I have time, I'll do everything. But if I don't have that time, then I will decide what is the most efficient way of delivering the best value under the circumstances. And if everything is important, then how you prioritize decides how effective you are in the end when it comes to delivery. So going forward, moving to the next slide, if this is what Agile was right from the beginning till the way it is defined, then 10 years after the Agile Manifesto was published, some of the original signatories, and this time a much larger group of Agile followers and thought leaders, met once again at the same venue to do a retrospective on 10 years of Agile development. So they asked themselves this question, should the guiding principles be updated? That's very interesting. They actually went through all the 4 items of the manifesto one by one. And as you would see, that these were some of the very real and practical questions that all of us face every day in our quest for an answer to this question of, shall I adopt Agile? So the individuals and interactions over processes and tools, that was the first manifesto item. Now, as Agile grows in use, increasingly tools play a key role, and all of us can foresee that there is no going back. The question is there a conflict with the main manifesto theme? Working software over comprehensive documentation. So as we will see later in much more detail, the rapid adoption of Agile led to organizations very large in size from different sectors wanting to adopt Agile in multiple and complex situations. And some of them actually belong to the industries where documentation is crucial and is mandated. So the question is then, where does the working software over comprehensive documentation stand? customer collaboration over contract negotiation. This works very well as long as we are talking about a software development effort in-house. But as soon as the work has to be outsourced to an external vendor or a partner, then contracts are important and they will form the basis of any engagement. So how do we ignore contract negotiation and instead prefer customer collaboration over negotiation? We cannot do that. And then responding to change over following a plan. So as we saw earlier, that Agile discourages making a long-term plan and starts, the emphasis is on getting on with the actual work with minimal upfront planning. But then all organizations, even if it is an internal project, will need a plan for funding. So those were some of the questions that they ask themselves. We know from our experience that those are the very real questions. So we'll see later, but to summarize, they found that the guiding principles were still universal. They did not have to be changed, but the group agreed on 4 key success factors for the next 10 years. So one is the demand technical excellence. So this once again is a reinforcement of the fact that Agile teams have to be self-organizing and empowered and experienced so that they can deliver quality software without direct instructions or much supervision. Promote individual change and lead organizational change. So many times as organizations embark upon adopting Agile for the first time, there are individuals in the organization and then the organizational cultures and procedures that need to go through fundamental changes. So, from one of my very personal and a very interesting experience. So I was working for a client that was adopting Agile, and at the insistence of the client, we started running the project in an Agile way, and the customer had rightly identified the stakeholders. Now, one of the stakeholders came back fairly early into the iteration cycles and saying that I don't want to review the parts of the application over and over again. What happened was that we were developing parts of the application in iterations, as is common, and the customer or the stakeholder who was used to reviewing an application once for all could not really reconcile with the idea, initially reconcile with the idea of having to go back to same page of functionality to notice an incremental progress. Similarly, there are organizational structures and procedures that do not live up to the flexibility and the agility that is a fundamental requirement of Agile. So these have to be undertaken at a very fundamental level, at a systemic level by the organizations if Agile they were to be successful with Agile. Organize knowledge and improve education. So it essentially goes hand in hand with the previous one, that with knowledge and education, it is only with knowledge and education and the long-term process that you can bring about those changes, and then maximize value creation across the entire process. So along with that, they also identified the total of 10 impediments against these key success factors. I do not want to get into the details of those 10 impediments within the short scope of this webinar, but one of the top impediments were that the teams actually lack enough backlogs. Most of the time it is found that they are not ready with backlogs, and there are lots and lots of reasons for this. And some of the important symptoms to this is, in some of the early stages, you make compromise with some of the key principles, and that's when, so you defer a review, and therefore you don't know whether you completed something or not, and therefore even if you had actually not completed something, it does not make it to the backlog. It's just one example. There are other reasons that leading to a situation where your one sprint is done, you are ready for the next sprint, but you do not have enough backlog.